Hey, everyone, and welcome to the fifth night of the Year of the Man Summit, where we are giving lessons to men to help with their mental health. If you don't know me, my name is Elise Micheals. I am a men's coach, and I started this summit as a way to help men, just get support from different lessons, different facets of their lives to become better fathers, spouses, leaders, and men. So we have 7 different days, 7 different creators. And today we are so lucky and blessed to have Trevor Hanson. He is a relationship coach, and he really demonstrates how to curate your perfect relationship in his video content on Instagram with his wife, who ironically is also named Elise. And they have couples videos all the time about how to nurture your relationship, what attachment styles are. And today he's here to give you guys a little taste of how you can create that in your own relationship and answer any questions that you have. So thank you so much, Trevor, for coming. I'm really excited to hear what you have to say.
Of course. Hey, thank you so much for having me. So I'm curious, am I good to share my screen? Because I do have a couple of slides I think might be helpful for people to follow along.
Yeah, let's check it out. If you can't do it, I will fix it.
Okay. This is those moments where you're like, oh, wait, technology and Zoom, and I got to make sure I'm doing this right. So, okay, it says that I just need some permission.
Perf.
I give you permission. Thank you, Tom. That is that is all I needed. Okay. Now that Tom said I can do it, then we're good to go.
God, I'm sorry, guys. I go into a panic all of a sudden when I'm on screen and then I have to figure this out. It's like I forget, like I've
Oh,
never done
hey,
it
I think you've
before.
got it. It looks like
I
it's
did.
working.
You can do it?
Yep,
Okay.
I can do it. Okay.
We're good.
Okay, let me hit this. Present. Full screen. Here we go. Okay. So, Elise, you're the only one that I can hear. Can you see that?
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for having me here today. So I first just want to start out by saying, whoa, we jumped ahead. So I want to first just start out by saying how grateful I am and humbled I am that I get the opportunity to be here today. And I have full confidence that the things that we're going to talk about today, if you truly own them, if you truly lock in and take away from this as if it's, I tell people, put on your $10,000 goggles, meaning a lot of times the difference between a really good podcast and a $10,000 training that you could buy is your attention. Something about paying money for something heightens your attention. You get more out of it and you apply it. I know that that's the case for me. And so I want you to imagine that you paid $10,000 to be here tonight. And that's the kind of attention that you give this, because the information that I'm providing, not because I think I'm really cool or I think I've got the answers, but because I've been able to find people who do have the answers and hopefully package it in a way that makes sense to you. I feel incredibly confident that the things you learn in here can transform either your current relationship or relationships in the future. Maybe some of you are not in a relationship currently, but you hope to be in a relationship one day. Either way, this is for you. And the reason I can be so confident about this is because there's a lot of amazing research behind everything I'm talking about. If we're looking at the world of couples therapy and couples dynamics, there's kind of 2 leaders in the space. There's emotionally focused therapy, and then there is Gottman, and both of them have a lot of similarities, and they have the biggest body of research behind them. And a lot of what I'm presenting today is drawn on those principles. It's also drawn on my own work with couples that I work with every single day and from my own experiences. So to give you an idea, locally here, I am in Utah, I'm a licensed associate marriage and family therapist. Everywhere else, it's kind of relationship coach. And so the work that I get to do has been inspired a lot by my own life. And that's kind of where I want to start. I wasn't always in the world of mental health. I wasn't a therapist by any means. I actually worked for this really small company you might have heard of called Tesla. And I worked for this amazing person called Uncle Elon, as I like to call him. And I was managing a team for Tesla for some time, way different than therapy, right? So I was managing a team of salespeople, and we would do sales and delivery of all vehicles and solar products, kind of in like this Western region. I'm in Utah, so we had Utah, Wyoming, Montana, and like a few other states involved in that. And at the time, I was, dating a girl. I was actually engaged to get married. That I had a date set and everything. We were good to go there, and life was fun. I was skiing a lot, having a lot of good times. And then out of nowhere, we got the announcement, not internally to us, but we found out because Elon announced it to Twitter before any of the employees realized that sales operations were going to be shut down, and that there would be a phase out of all sales type personnel. Anybody on the sales front, anybody in the delivery front, it was going down. And what's kind of crazy about this is that I didn't find out from, internally. I found out from my employees actually, who came to me because they found out from customers who were reaching out to them. Are you gonna get laid off? Are you gonna have a job tomorrow? What's going on? And they passed those same questions to me as their employees filed in to my office saying, what's going on? Are we gonna have a job? And this was kind of my first dose of being, quote unquote, a therapist. My job dramatically changed from, working, driving towards amazing goals to just helping these people get through every single day as they were super fearful about losing their jobs. We were playing Russian roulette every single week, not knowing whether our operation was going to get shut down or not. And eventually it did. It got shut down. And at that same time, icing on the cake, what people didn't realize is that, that part of my life wasn't actually the most difficult, but it was actually my relationship. That relationship, the one I was going to get married to, well, her name wasn't Elise, and I'm glad that I married an Elise. Elises are much better in the long run. So, but that relationship was a traumatic relationship, to say the least. And I can now say that, yes, Elise says she agrees. Of course you agree. So that relationship was full of, honestly, a lot of traumatic experiences. And I can say that from a clinical standpoint, truly traumatic in a lot of sense. It was full of, the things that we think about when we think about relationship distress, conflict, disconnection, stonewalling, manipulation, lack of trust, a lot of fighting, all over the spectrum. And sometimes it was raging hot and terrible, and other times it was just kind of, warm and uncomfortable. And this is true for most couples. There's a spectrum where sometimes it's the house is on fire, and then other times it's just, it's a little too warm in here, if we're going with that fire analogy, where it's uncomfortable. There's some smoke. I can't quite see you because there's too much, distance between us. How can we be connected? And there's a big spectrum. So that was happening, and just icing on the cake, I broke my jaw in a skiing accident and got life flighted off of Solitude Mountain Resort here in Utah. And if anybody's in Utah, just give me a shout out in the chat. I would be super stoked to hear that. So in that relationship, on the tail end of it, I remember waking up every day just feeling horrible. Like I just felt like I had just lead in my veins, and it was heavy. It was hard, but I wanted to do something about it in the future. I wanted to heal myself, figure out, wait, hold on. Why did I stay there? What did I do to get in there? What was my part in this? I wanted to own it because I never wanted it to happen again. I value my relationships, and I wanted closeness and companionship. I longed for it. And I knew that it couldn't just be, all her fault or whatnot. Like, what was I bringing into this? And through that, I got introduced to the world of therapy. I was blown away with the things I was learning. I had a knack for helping people to heal their relationships. I went back to school, got a master's degree of marriage and family therapy, and now this is what I do. What you're seeing here today and what I do with my couples that come into me and work with me in the room, this is how I help them become successful in their relationships. And so I want to give you an analogy. We've kind of started in on it already, but I want you to imagine, and if you, sometimes Zoom and slides are hard. Okay, cool. So I want you to imagine You're looking out into your backyard. Hopefully you have a backyard. If not, just maybe a part of your house. Okay. So if you're looking out there and you see all of a sudden that there's fire, it's just flames everywhere. The backyard is on fire. The bushes are on fire. The trees, the base of the trees, the grass, it's hot, it's burning. And in your panic, you run out there as quickly as you can. There's smoke in your eyes. It's hot. You're even getting burnt. And in your fear and in your pain, you reach for the most available solution, the thing you think is going to work logically, right? Let's look for liquid. Let's look for something to put out this fire. That's your, what I call, attempted solution. And so you pick up a bucket. It's got liquid in it. You're not sure what it is, but it seems okay. So you run, again, blinded a bit by your own pain and your own fear. You dump that bucket onto the flames. And little did you know, that bucket wasn't water at all, but that was just a big old bucket of gasoline out back. And the flame goes brighter, it gets bigger, and you get burnt in the process. The very thing you thought was going to heal the situation, to fix it, is the very thing that burnt you, that made it worse and made it difficult. And this is a trend in mental health. Oftentimes the thing we think is going to help, the way we kind of, and I would even say it's not even think, we kind of react. The way we react and with our attempted solution creates more of the very pain that really we were trying to avoid by applying that solution. So what are we going to do today? My hope is to help you do a few things. One, I want to help you put out the fires, be able to know what those fires are and find a different solution, not the attempted solution, the gasoline that lights things on fire, but the thing that helps you put out the fire, create safety in your relationships, find the source of why that fire was burning in the first place, why there was distress, why there was distance, why the other person was upset, what was going on a deeper level, so that you can then, after all that's done, the fire's out, safety has been implemented, you find the source of the fire, you can grow the grass of connection, you can heal the yard, you can heal the relationship. Then let me give you one quick example so you kind of grasp a little bit more. We're going to go into a bigger overarching example, but this idea of an attempted solution. I was working with a couple this last week, and the guy had broken trust in the relationship. Not in a huge way, but he did break trust, and he was clearly guilty of that. And he knew it. But he, when hearing her pain, when hearing the pain of his wife, instead of applying a solution that was healing to the relationship, he got a bit defensive. He wanted to go on his PR campaign and say, well, hold on, I'm not like this bad guy. Not everything about me is bad. Like, let me tell you why, guys in this similar situation would have done it worse, or why it's not so bad this time. He went on this PR campaign, and all she could hear is, he doesn't care. He doesn't actually hear my hurt. It doesn't matter to him. That's all that she heard. And the flames got bigger, the hurt got bigger, and it kept going. So that is what I'm talking about when we're talking about applying gasoline, your attempted solution, right? And here's the thing. His attempted solution, logically, sure. Gut reaction, it makes some sense. Well, hold on, that hurts. I need to tell you why I'm not a bad dude and show you the difference. But that's not what was needed, right? That wasn't going to put out the fire. That wasn't going to create safety. And that wasn't going to soothe the source of her pain, which had more to do with feeling alone, maybe feeling abandoned, feeling hurt by the person that she cares about the most. So that's where we're going to be going today. And I want to help you map this out. There's an actual, what we call negative cycle that we can draw. And we're going to draw one. And as we do this today, I want you to listen and think, can I relate to a piece of this at all? Are there certain tendencies of either of these two people? I'm going to give you an example of two people. Are there tendencies that maybe I can relate to, and so that I can watch out for myself to get into this negative cycle, stop things? And this will make a lot more sense. Let me jump into it for you real quick. Okay, so the first thing I want to mention, though, is as we go into this, a sense of ownership is absolutely important here. Right now, if you're in a relationship, they are not the ones listening. And maybe they're there with you. Sure, that's cool. Or maybe they're on a different device. But you and I, as if you and I are alone, you're the only person that I can influence here today. And the way that you respond to this with ownership, humility, a lot of diligent application and looking inward, that's the only way that this talk we're going to have is going to make any difference, right? It's taking ourselves from that victim place where it says, I'm a victim of the crap that happens in my relationship, or I'm a victor and I can kind of control my own destiny by changing what I do. They may not respond any different, but what can I do? Along with that, one of my favorite authors and speakers, Jocko Willink, a lot of you probably know him, talks about extreme ownership. I read his book recently, love it. If you haven't read it, go for it. He says implementing extreme ownership requires, the little chat box is in my way, one sec. It requires checking your ego and operating with a high degree of humility. Admitting mistakes, taking ownership, and developing a plan to overcome challenges are integral to any successful team. And I plugged in relationship because obviously you and your partner, whether you have a partner now or you do in the future, that is probably your most foundational and important team in your whole life. And so we want to apply that same spirit as we go into these concepts moving forward. So let me introduce you to two people. This is Frank and Lisa. Frank, just because that's my dog's name, love Frank, always got to include him in any of my analogies, so he's here for it. And yeah, so let's talk about kind of how Frank and Lisa were raised. And this is going to, well, okay, let's just go back to how they were raised. I was going to get ahead of myself, but Frank grew up in a house that was pretty non-emotional. Mom and dad were not emotional. When kids got emotional, it was actually even punished. I don't know if you ever heard like, hey, go to your room till you can stop crying and then you can come out and hang out with us. Well, kiddos, all they hear is go to your room until you can stop being emotional. We're not going to love you until you are less emotional. Once you're less emotional, we can love you. The doors are open. Life is good. Come on in. But until then, you stay out. And so what does Frank have to do? He has to learn how to cope with that situation by decreasing emotion, shutting it down whenever it's there. Because, hey, if emotions equals no love, I'm not doing that. But if emotionless equals love and acceptance, hey, that's the solution. That's the answer, right? This is where we form that avoidant attachment style. And most men in general, it's actually funny because I'm speaking this way and I'm not one of these historically, but most men tend to be on the more emotionally avoidant side, the withdrawn side, and things of that nature, right? And then on the other side, let's look at Lisa. So Lisa grew up in a house where there was some inconsistency in love. She didn't know when it was going to be there, and she had maybe a really anxious mom, let's say. And mom was really good. She was amazing. She wasn't terrible, but she was so anxious that Lisa had a hard time knowing when it was okay to approach mom, when mom was too stressed out to be accessible and loving. And so Lisa became hyper vigilant. She tried to do things to make mom happy, to earn that love, or to put mom in a position where she could, love Lisa and make her feel safe and comfortable. And so Lisa, she learned that in relationships, she needs to overcompensate, overdo it, dig her claws in, perform, be clingy. Love is scarce. You got to be hyper vigilant in order to keep it close. So we've got two opposites on this side of things. And here's the thing. A lot of times, identifying with Lisa, I love that. I'm curious to hear as you guys go along, put in the chat who maybe you identify with. I probably identify a little bit more with Lisa, or I have in the past. I think that has changed for me over the years as I've implemented some of the things that we are going to be talking about here today. So there's some Lisas, there's some Franks, there's a handful of, okay, we're on different sides of the coin. So let's see how this plays out in a relationship, because most of the time you're going to get an what we call the anxious attachment and the avoidant attachment paired up in a relationship. Happens all the time. Doesn't mean it's always going to be that way. Sometimes you can get two avoidance, but the same kind of principles apply. Let's look at an example of the negative cycle. As the two of them apply their gasoline, right? Their attempted solution that they learned in childhood. How does this play out? And can we actually map it, notice it? And if we can map it, notice it, then we can stop it and we can change it. So here we go. we've got Frank over here, we got Lisa, and there's some sort of uncomfortable distress in the relationship. Maybe it's just subtle. Maybe one of them's not feeling very well. Maybe, Frank's over here, he's kind of not feeling well. And so he's doing his thing. He's being quiet. He's going about. And Lisa starts to get nervous. Oh my gosh. She's learned that she's got to watch people's emotions, take care of everybody. So she maybe gets a little bit uncomfortable. Or let's say maybe she has something she wants to ask Frank to do, or he's been doing something that's bothering her, or it can be anything. The relationship distresses. I want you to think about what's kind of the thing that sends you into the negative cycle in your relationship, the thing that spins you out, or in the past has done it. Maybe you have challenges with trust, or maybe when somebody doesn't show up on time, that hurts, or maybe, whatever it is, you can apply your own distress. We're going to call it big label of just general distress. There's disconnection in the relationship. Okay, so Frank has learned to withdraw when there is distress. Shut down, avoid. That's how you make it better. Lisa, she's learned to pursue. And what that looks like is she maybe gets critical. Hey, Frank, why aren't you ever home on time? You're never home. You never do this right. She gets maybe a little bit more critical. And the more she does that, the more Frank goes, whoa, this isn't safe. This isn't cool. I know how to get out of emotionally unsafe situations. I bail. That's what I do. I've learned that from day one, right? And so he bails. Obviously, he's not thinking this logically about it, but the more he bails, the more she pursues and criticizes, and they get frustrated and angry, and it continues to build until they're really disconnected, not just kind of disconnected at this point. And it's like, what the heck? How did we get here? And oftentimes couples in this situation, this is when they show up in my office and they go, that's the question. They go, how did we get here? How do we get out? Because we know we love each other, but somehow we keep getting into the same spot. Well, first, they don't understand their own history. And the second, they don't know the rest of the cycle, what's below this line. Above the line is what you can see. She's critical. She's blaming. He's defensive. He's withdrawing. She's angry. He's frustrated. That's all you can see. But if we get deeper, then we have power to unpack and change the cycle. Let's kind of map it out again. So the distressing event happens. Frank, he withdraws. That's his move. Or we could start on either side, right? I'm starting with Frank, but it could be with Lisa as well. So Frank withdraws because of the distress. The more he withdraws, the more Lisa feels sad. She feels alone. It triggers that fear in her, that primal fear that she's had since a childhood. Just like when mom wasn't accessible anymore, she was too anxious, or mom was too distressed, or dad was too busy. That same fear gets triggered in her. She gets sad. She gets that fear of abandonment. And how does she cope with it? Well, she does what she's learned best. She reaches out. Maybe she gets defensive. She yells. She criticizes. She tells Frank how annoying it is that he never says anything. And she starts to feel more and more frustrated. Okay. And the more she does that, what do you think is going to happen for Frank? Well, he's going to start to feel like, oh man, this is scary. This is hopeless even. I can never get it right for her. I just want to be loved. I want to be good enough, but I just don't feel like I ever hit the mark. And so he has that fear of not being good enough. And we know Frank's move is to, when he feels fear in these situations, it just reinforces his pattern. I'm going to withdraw. I'm going to stonewall. I'm going to get out and bail. And so it goes on and on and on and on, and they keep doing this. But underneath, they just want something different. Lisa, maybe she just wants understanding. She wants Frank to just turn to her and say, hey, I'm here for you. I want to hear what you have to say. Oh, okay. I see how when I stonewall, it makes you feel abandoned. It makes you feel sad. Man, that's got to be hard. She wants that understanding. And maybe Frank, he's just longing for some appreciation. Frank, you're a good man. Like, I love you. I love what you do. Like, you work so hard. You're trying your best. Like, you're not missing the mark. You're enough for me. I love you. And so we have their if we kind of go down, we have their surface level behaviors, their gasoline, the things that they can observe, the emotions on the surface, the frustration and the anger. Then we have the deeper, more primary feelings. These are things like hurt, loneliness, sadness, all of that. Then we usually have some sort of fear involved, a fear of not being good enough, fear of abandonment, and then we have a need. And when we have all of this information, I hope you can start to see that we can actually change this cycle, right? If it's a cycle, we can interrupt it. Well, obviously interrupting it at the gasoline level is probably a good place to start. But what would this actually look like? Well, let's slow down for a minute, and I know you've probably already been doing this in your heads, but I want to think about your own cycle. Whether you're in a relationship now or you could be in the future or you've been in the past, think about, you know, if you're not in one right now, think hypotheticals. Knowing myself, how could I get into a negative cycle? And what do I need to maybe watch out for so that I don't get sucked in? Or if I'm in a relationship, what does my cycle look like? So here's a bit of a cheat sheet. These are the lists of probably the most common gasoline, the surface behaviors, how you attempt to solve the problem. And you think, Trevor, that's kind of weird to think like I'm attempting to solve my problem by, I don't know, throwing a tantrum, manipulating, lecturing, being sarcastic, escalating. They don't sound like good solutions, and obviously they don't. And logically, we go, those aren't solutions, but there's a part of us, a deeper part of us that feels like this is a solution. Maybe if I escalate and I get loud, they'll hear me and understand me. Well, okay, there's maybe some logic there. Maybe if I complain enough, they'll hear me. Maybe if I shut down, they'll see how hurt I am. Or maybe if I shut down, I'll just protect the relationship, keep things from getting worse. I'm going to shut down. I'm going to withdraw. I'm going to get out of there. So look at all these and start to think, what is potentially my attempted solution, my gasoline here? And if you see one that resonates with you, throw in the chat. We can all relate to these things. This is where we take ownership. We go, this is me. That's it. And I need to quit doing that. That doesn't help me at all. And I think it's so important to be able to call it out for yourself, right? This isn't an activity of shame. Like, look at all you guys, you do all this stuff and you're so terrible. This is an activity of saying, wait, oh, hold on. This is just me being aware. Oh, sorry.
Trevor, you were going so good that the lights went out.
Yeah,
Literally.
I know.
He was on such a roll that
my camera had some issue. Yeah, I just
the
overpowered my
power
camera.
was so amazing that it just poofed. Exactly.
Yeah,
Everybody's
just
feeling it.
dropped us. Okay, so we're back. So we see some people. What is lecture, wine? Oh, there's supposed to be a dash between those. Lecture wine is where you drink wine and you lecture somebody. No, it's wet lecture or whining. Okay, so the next part is, okay, beneath that response, beneath the gasoline or the negative response, what's the actual primary emotion going on? What's the feeling that you have underneath? Maybe you're feeling ignored. Maybe you're feeling unimportant. Maybe you feel hurt, rejected. Maybe you feel hopeless, or maybe you feel unloved. You feel like a failure. And you know what's pretty cool about this list? You think about just hearing this. I don't know if you can see the difference or feel the difference in energy. As I read these, it's a different energy than the last slide. The last slide is defensiveness. It's pushing away. These are inviting things. If I were to look at you in the camera right now and say, today I felt kind of hurt. Today I felt kind of alone. Today I felt unloved or invalidated or hopeless. My goodness, there's something about us humans that we just want to reach through and help, right? That's more accessible. So we're getting a glimpse at how we break this cycle, getting down into those deeper, softer emotions, being willing to be vulnerable with how we're actually feeling rather than using our attempted solutions here. Okay, let's keep going. So if we go a layer deeper, what do we actually need? And this is important to think about. And I'm going to pause and introduce another concept as we're right here. So our need is maybe to feel connected, compassion. We want to be validated. We want to be loved, joy, affection. We want trust. We need hope. We want to be empowered, all of these things. And here's the thing. To say it's your partner's responsibility 100% to give you this need, I think would be overdoing it, right? That's where we get into that codependence. If we go, hey, it's my job to 100% give me these things and nobody else can help me, that's interdependence and you're no longer in a independence to an extreme and you're no longer in a relationship. It's like, why do you even got somebody there, right? We're built and wired to rely on each other. And so there's the two concepts here. When we can recognize our need, then we have a bit of a path forward into co-regulation, meaning we do it together, or self-regulation. I do it alone. Maybe self-regulation looks like, wow, okay, I do need a little bit of compassion. Maybe I can give myself some compassion right now. Maybe my partner's not in the place where they could do it that well. Maybe I need to do that. Maybe I need to take a breath. Maybe I need to take a walk, do the things that are good for me. Okay. And then we switch to co-regulation. Co-regulation looks like voicing our need rather than keeping it silent, shutting down like Frank and ignoring the whole dang thing and keeping Lisa guessing and freaked out about what's going on. Or in Lisa's case, instead of criticizing and telling them how they're doing it wrong, instead we just tell them what we want. We tell them our actual need in this vulnerable place. Hey, I'm feeling a little bit unloved right now. I just need you to hear what I'm saying. I just need you to listen. I just need to like look in your eyes for a minute and just hang out with you. Like we don't even have to say anything. I just want to be in the same room with you and know that we're okay. I need some reassurance, right? That's where we start to actually voice things rather than tell them how they're wrong from the critical, anxious standpoint. So what does this look like? Let's say Frank and Lisa have understood their negative cycle. They know their gasoline moves up here at the top. They've realized the deeper, softer emotions, and they've tried to understand them from each other's perspective. Wow, what's it like to be Lisa and feel sad and abandoned? What's it like to be Frank and feel like you're not good enough? Maybe I can feel love towards that person. And you know what's so cool about this? I'm kind of getting on a soapbox now, where a relationship is about trusting deeply another person. And it's not just this transactional cool thing where we like get to go hang out, have fun, have sex, and like that's the end of it. But it's something much deeper. It's I'm bringing you into my life to be a true teammate, to be somebody close to me. And oftentimes we never offer up these close, deeper parts to each other. This is a new level of intimacy. I feel sad, I'm going to offer it to you. I feel abandoned, I'm going to offer it to you. We're going to hold this part of our lives that usually is under the surface and we never see. We're going to learn how to hold it together. Man, that's exciting. That's cool stuff, but it takes some practice. So let's see what happened to Frank and Lisa. Frank, he starts voicing his feelings, being vulnerable about what he's got going on. And he seeks to understand where Lisa's coming from, understand what she's actually feeling, her fear of abandonment. She, in turn, starts to feel loved and cared for. She starts to feel safe, which, like I said, it's not Frank's responsibility to be in charge of how Lisa's feeling, but he can influence how she's feeling greatly, right? Obviously, he has. He's created safety. And because of that, she has a greater capacity and she's taking ownership. And she's saying, you know what? I feel safer. I'm choosing to be safer. And so I'm going to express appreciation to Frank. I'm going to actually ask for what I need instead of telling Frank how terrible he is and getting defensive and all of that stuff and criticizing. And what happens for Frank? He feels appreciated. He feels respected. He feels safe. And again, he's in charge of his own stuff, but she's influenced him to have a greater capacity. This is what we talk about when we're saying co-regulation. So he's got the greater capacity and more ownership, and it reinforces his ability to voice feelings, seek for understanding, and be safe. They've gotten into a new cycle, a positive cycle that is reinforcing and self-fulfilling in the same way the negative cycle was. And I'm curious, as you look at this, I wonder, like, can you see yourself in this cycle? Can you see how, if you can watch your cycle and even just notice when it's happening, the kind of power that can give you when you start disconnecting? And like I said, your spectrum might be all over the place. It might just be like, oh, we kind of like get weird and ignore each other sometimes and we don't know what to say. And that's our disconnection. Or other times it's we're getting hot, we're getting mad, we're lashing out. Wherever you are on the spectrum, everyone has a cycle. Some of them are shorter, some of them are longer, some of them are louder, some of them are quiet. But if we work through the cycle, what's amazing is my conversation here isn't about just putting out fires, but it's actually about building closeness and connection, to be seen by another person, to be heard and validated by that other person in the place of pain. That's meaningful. You know, we talk about connecting and disconnecting emotions. A lot of people say positive and negative emotions, but I want to take that back a second and say connecting and disconnecting. Sadness can be one of the most connecting emotions in the world. Hey, I'm sad. Oh, really? Yeah, I feel that too. I feel that because we're disconnected and I love you. Wow, you share sadness with me? That's meaningful. That's almost more meaningful than, hey, we're having a good time, we're on a vacation, and life is bliss, right? Being there for each other in those darker places is so, so cool. So you put out the fires and you build connection and safety all at the same time by interrupting these negative cycles. So if you're like, Trevor, this is a lot of information, how do I boil it down and kind of keep it a little bit more simple? Well, here's a few points that I want you to remember. Slow down. When you see your cycle happening, slow down. Don't grab the bucket of gas. Evaluate. Notice the cycle. Even call it out loud if you can. If you kind of have that agreement with you and your partner, if you know your cycle, you can go, hey, we're in our cycle. Slow down. Number 2, get curious. What's happening in our cycle? What am I actually feeling deep down? Those secondary emotions, the deeper emotions, the fear, the hurt, the longings. And what is my partner feeling? Can I ask questions before I try to apply a solution that really doesn't work? And also have compassion through all of that. Have compassion for yourself, understanding, oh yeah, based on my history, it makes sense I'd react this way. Doesn't mean it's helpful, but it makes sense. And oh my goodness, I'm actually feeling some longings here. Okay, I can have compassion for that. I can have compassion for my partner's experience. Is there fear behind their lashing out? Is there something deeper and softer that I can tune into? And so that curious and that compassion is kind of a combo, right? It works together. And you continue to do this until the real solutions, the water becomes much more clear. You can see it. Water looks like usually expressing emotions clearly, validating, compassion, understanding, empathy, those types of things that you use as you abandon your gasoline solutions. So that is the kind of a run and gun, real quick summary of understanding the negative cycle, deconstructing the negative cycle, and building closeness and safety in your relationships.
Wow. Everyone, slow claps for Trevor. That was amazing. Wow, that was so amazing, so thorough. I loved your graphics. That was insane. That was so great. I'm sure everybody has questions. Any questions that you have for Trevor, I want you to put them in Q&A. And I'm so sorry, everybody who is not in VIP. We're going to pause it here, make your way out. If you want to join VIP because you want to ask Trevor questions and you want access to this so you can watch it again, because I know I will watch it again. Loving all of the extra. Go ahead and purchase that, and I can type it into the chat. Hang on. I'm going to pause the recording.
Sweet.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to the summit where we're going to have VIP session time with Trevor. Trevor, first question. Please expand on creating safety. How can a man make a woman feel safe? I think guys want to feel safe, but I don't think it's something we really think about.
Yeah. So how to create safety. So I think if we go back to kind of the triad of slow down, get curious, and have compassion, that's first the 3 principles that I say bring into that safety. Truly slow down and get curious. That's probably the hardest part, because once you get curious and you have the information, meaning you can start to see, oh my gosh, she's just feeling some fear. Oh my gosh, she's longing for something. She's wanting something. It's easy to have compassion there. But also, there's a principle that I love. It's called attachment seeding. So we sprinkle these little seeds of attachment in everything that we say and that we deliver and that we receive between us and our partner. So, for example, we're going to go from not so good, good, and then best. And best includes attachment seeding. Let's take the example of maybe the complaint that somebody's coming home late, right? The first is getting critical. Why are you always late? You're just pointing out something that they do wrong. Obviously, that's going to push them away. We already talked about that in the cycle a little bit. Better is, hey, I'd love it if you can come home, right after work so we can hang out, okay, that's better. But even best, and you don't have to always be this vulnerable, but start to think about, how is my message that I'm sending including her or including my partner? How is it saying that she or he or whoever's on the other side is important to me? So it might look like, hey, I really appreciate you. I love you so much. I love spending time with you. And for that reason, I just love it when you're home, like after work and we get to have dinner together. Is that something that, we can kind of work on together? And you're sending that message, and you think about it, there's different ways of translating messages, right? You can send or receive a message and it can either sound like, oh, well, okay, let me simplify it for you. So there's disconnecting and connecting messages in everything we say and even do, our body language. And it will either send a message that says, you're important to me, you're valuable to me, this relationship is important, we are valuable in my life, and that's a big priority to me. Or it can send a message that says, you're not good enough, you're not getting it right, I don't like you, I might leave you because you're annoying or because you're doing whatever. And we have to be just aware of, what's the kind of message that I'm sending? And sometimes just being very, very explicit about it, leading out with validating how much you care about them, especially when you're going to share something that's challenging or share something difficult. And it's not a but. It's not a, I love you, but I need you to do this. No. It's, I love you. And because I love you, I'm asking you for something. I'm sharing this with you. Because I love you, I'm motivated to reach out and be a little bit closer. So think about the concept of attachment seeding. What are my messages I'm sending? Are they connecting or disconnecting? And, I kind of, well, I'll pause because there's another concept in here and it'll probably piggyback on another question. We'll grab another one.
Okay. How do I get my future partner to use these tools?
Yeah. So, first of all, pick partners who seem open and down to learn things like this, right? Look for a person who has that openness and that willingness and that kindness and that acceptance. And when things aren't hot and crazy, show them these things, teach them about that. You guys can come over to my Instagram. I mean, not to put in a plug for me, but there's a place where you don't have to be the one doing the teaching, but just sharing, hey, this is so cool to me. This is meaningful to me. I loved it and I want to share it with you. Look what I just did, right? I just did the attachment seating again. You're so important to me. I want to share my life with you. I love this and I want you to come close into my life. These principles that Trevor taught me one day on this Man Summit was awesome. Come close to me. I want to share these with you. So again, it's about that attachment seating, that invitation that says, you're important to me, so come close.
How do we repair the disconnection when there's a separation and lack of communication?
Yeah. I'm going to go back to the 3. Slow it down, right? Go in soft, go in gentle. I'm almost imagining, and maybe this isn't your case, whoever asked this question, but I'm imagining that you're, there's a separation. You're not living together. You're not close. There's a lack of communication. I would say open up that communication with gentleness, no expectation. You're not trying to get them to do anything. You're not trying to get them to talk to you or force them into this or anything like that. Your goal is to seek to understand first, right? This is where we got to imply that humility piece, that take ownership. Okay, if they don't know these things that I know, if they don't know how to get out of here, at least I do. And what can I do? I can hold my pain for a minute. I can hold it for a minute and I can get curious about what's going on for them. Hey, we've been pretty distant. And you know what? It kind of hurts. I really care about you. I really do. And I think maybe I've misunderstood you in the past. I'd love to understand how you're feeling. Boom, done, right? I love you. I miss you. You're important. Again, attachment seating, re-emphasizing the importance of the relationship, and then the invitation. I'd love to hear from you. You're important to me. Seek to understand before being understood. That's the Arbinger Institute. Good stuff. So that's, I think, And you know, it's kind of hard saying these things because the questions that you're asking are so nuanced, and we could spend like a whole session of therapy together, like deep diving in through that and like working through your own fears and your own feelings about reaching out, right? Because maybe you need to work through something first. That's also important. So I guess I always say when I'm doing kind of these rapid fire things, take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I know that there's probably more nuance that I'm not seeing, and I understand that.
So if someone is freshly single after 16 years and 7 of those were marriage,
Mm,
are there any tips on how to not repeat bad patterns or ignoring traits that were harmful in that relationship? Because obviously after 16 years of doing the same thing,
mm.
there's a lot of, there's a lot of habits built in there. So how do we go from there? How do we unlearn those things or even recognize them?
Yeah, yeah. Well, first, make them as explicit as you possibly can, right? Take this recording, watch it again, pause it, map out your cycle, map out what happened, and own your side of it. Because first, that's the only that's the biggest piece you can control, right? And then you can start to gain some awareness of like, oh, maybe what do I need to look out for on that other side of the cycle? But before you worry about that, before you worry about trying to kind of, I guess, account for that side or in a way control it, because you're never going to be able to really control it. But first, look at your side of the cycle and go, okay, what are the fears? I think that one of the biggest pieces here is what are the fears that drive disconnecting behavior in my relationships? What am I afraid of? Really, what am I afraid of? Where does that come from? Can I be compassionate around that? What do I do with that fear? Do I need to work through it? Do I need to, chat with a friend about it, go to therapy? Do I need to read something? Do I need to meditate? Do I need to pray? Do I need to reach out to God? What is my process to heal that part of me, that fearful part of me? Because if you can heal your fears, man, you're going to be so much better going into that next relationship. And you know what's going to be cool is that if you're less fearful, you're way less likely to get in relationships with unhealthy people because you're not anxious about love. You're not worried about it being there or it not being there. You say, hey, I'm going to be with you. And if you can sense a lot of fear or anxiety or insecurity in the other person, you're not going to be latching onto them as they're the last hope resort for love in life, because love is plentiful, love is out there, and I'll be okay. So work on your fear, because it'll help you choose the right person. It'll help you show up more healthy in your next relationship. So I guess work on your fear and notice how you cope with your fear and change that. Because to say like you're going to eliminate all of your fears and be done, like, okay, no, that's not going to happen, right? Securely attached is something we didn't talk about here explicitly, really, but the behaviors in a positive cycle are securely attached behaviors. That kind of secure attachment, if people who are securely attached don't always feel secure, right? But they choose to behave in secure ways. Not insecure ways, but in a secure way. It's kind of mixes up there. But they choose to behave in a way that is secure. So identify, okay, when I do feel that fear, how do I want to respond to it? Because it might not go away completely. So how do I want to manage that?
Amazing. Is there a difference between putting up with unhealthy partners and traits and identifying when it's actually something that can be fixed? Like, how do
Mm,
we know the difference between
mm,
I should just live with this versus,
mm.
we can actually work on this?
Yeah, yeah. I think, um, man, there's a lot of layers to that one. I feel like so. The first thing that comes to my mind is you first need to show up as best as you possibly can in order to really know if that's the truth, right? You got to, again, look at your cycle, figure out what your fears are, figure out how you're showing up in unhealthy ways, and be committed to making some of those changes, right? Increasing that compassion, slowing down. And we've kind of hit the tip of the iceberg on some of this work, honestly. There's a lot more that you can do here with this. But is own your side first, because once you've done that and you've done it consistently, you can see, oh, is my secure behavior influencing a culture of security in our relationship? Yes or no? That's good information, right? Secondly, draw on resources. See what kind of willingness your partner has to draw on those with you. Again, that attachment framed invitation. I care about us. I care about you. We are important. So why I would love it if you would join me in, maybe couples therapy, maybe reading this book, maybe listening to this podcast. I think it could strengthen us. Kind of dropping little invitations. If you're showing up as best you can and invitations are rejected, there's an unwillingness to entertain outside resources, right? Then yeah, it starts to go, okay, maybe this isn't going to quite work. And then you have to decide, do I want to stay in this relationship the way it is, or do I need to make some sort of changes? But there's quite a bit of work to be done before you get to that point.
Wow, so good. And that segues perfectly into this next question. When trying to repair the distance and disconnection that has occurred between you and your partner, is there ever a time or indicator that it would be too late? Example, my wife and I have been separated since August. I would gladly work things out with her. And sometimes I get the impression that she would with me, but then other times she slams that door shut.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me tell you something that might be going on. I don't know because I don't know your situation, but sometimes it's scary to work it out. It's scary because it's like, oh my gosh, I care so much about you. I love you. And it's so painful. It's been so painful when we haven't lined up, when we have been hurt by each other. A part of me wants to move towards that. But a part of me is so freaking scared of it that I'm pulling back and I'm moving away. And I'd say if you can access this other part that's pulling away, give it some compassion, be explicit about that in conversations, for example, that can be pretty healing. And I like the parts language even, getting curious. Hey, I get a sense that a part of you wants to work on this, but maybe a part of you is afraid. Am I getting that right? I just want to know. Like, what's that like for you, right? I'm just curious. I want to know. How are you? You're kind of you're poking around and you're not putting on a lot of pressure, but you're simply, you can use some of this parts language. If you feel like you're getting mixed messages, start with parts. I do this in therapy all the time. I'll have a couple sitting there and, one's been maybe betrayed in some manner and they're like, I love you, but I also am really freaking scared of you. And I say, oh, tell me about the part that's scared. And then they tell me, oh, I'm just so scared because there's so much on the line. And basically they're just telling me, he means so much to me. I love him so much. I don't dare go out on that cliff. I say, what would it be like if you actually told him that you're afraid of going out on that cliff? What would it be like if you just kind of let him in like that? And then they do, right? I'm painting a picture for you here. Hey, I'm so afraid. I really love you, but I'm so afraid to move into this. It's nerve-wracking. And what does he do? He just sits there and he's like, yeah, I get that. I'm here for it. Thank you for telling me. I feel kind of the same way. And all of a sudden, they've gotten to that bottom of the cycle. They're sharing those deeper longings, those deeper fears. They're not trying to find a solution. Like, okay, well, that means that we need to move in like 3 weeks if we do X, Y, and Z. Your solution isn't to find solutions, but it's just to find understanding. So I think in your position, I would just seek for understanding, try to go deeper, maybe utilize the idea of parts, language, and that concept.
So powerful, so powerful. And we have another question that is so good, real life example. How do I empower my incredible wife to pursue her career and grow her online business without feeling left behind and emasculated? I would like to hear more about your perspective on the power of balance in relationships. I feel scared as the blur of boundaries of the expected roles in a heterosexual relationship.
Yeah. This is taking me some thought here. See, these are the ones that are kind of hard because I'm not in your world. It's funny, my instinct as like a therapist is to ask you a question back. Like, where does this fear of being emasculated come from? What about this is threatening? How does her pursuing that actually threaten you? Because the big word of, oh, I'm going to get emasculated, is like, what does that actually mean, man? Like, what does that actually mean to you? And is that a fear that holds you back and that it doesn't serve you? but it feels real, I think are some of the I think to answer that one, I'm going to give some questions, because sometimes the most powerful thing is just to reflect on yourself. Where does that fear come from? Why do I have it? Is it really a threat to me? Have I voiced this fear? If I haven't, why not? I think that there's some exploration around the fear that I would want to do before saying that, we can find some sort of answer to that. It's like, let's kind of look at that fear. Let's figure out what's going on there.
I love that so much, Trevor. And I actually have questions too, just from working with men. A lot often when we feel emasculated by our partner, it's because a piece of us feels like we're not doing enough, or we haven't pursued what we wanted to. And so I would just also ask you questions too, Brian. Is there a part of you that has abandoned your own purpose and your own passion that feels threatened by the fact that your partner has found something that they really love? And even in love and relationships, sometimes do you feel like you've taken now a back seat to your partner? And that's what emasculation means to you, right? So it's just this question that you asked is really like opening up so many doors for your own self exploration. And that's just like really, really beautiful. So I love that. Thank you so much.
And, we think about kind of the archetypical masculine role in the context of the hero's journey, right? What does a hero do? The hero, and I think most men see themselves in this journey in some sort of way where there's a challenge to be had. There's a darkness to be faced, a dragon to be slain, whatever it is. And I am the guy who's going to go out there and do that. I'm going to provide some sort of value, and I'm going to come home with the prize. Either it's a little nugget of wisdom, or maybe I'm going to save my town or save myself, save my relationship, doing something important and meaningful that's not just meaningful for me, but people outside of me and around me. And I would ask also, okay, if she's pursuing whatever her journey is, a hero's journey in a sense of whatever that is, she's accomplishing something. What about that journey threatens yours? And this is a hard question, and maybe this is too abrupt and maybe it doesn't apply, but is the feeling of emasculation jealousy because you don't know what your journey is? And you need to get clear on what your journey is. Or like Elise was saying, maybe you've abandoned your hero's journey. But the great part about a hero's journey is that it can start anytime. And if you're unclear exactly what's the demon, what's the dragon, and what's the prize, well, choose something. Maybe it's just to overcome your own fear of whatever that journey is. And so starting there and looking through like, okay, how is my journey, my hero's journey, actually threatened by what she's doing? And is it, or is there just a part of me that feels like it's threatened?
So powerful. It looks like we have one more question here in Q&A. And Trevor has been talking a lot this whole time, guys. So I really want to honor his time and honor his knowledge here. So if you've any last minute questions, please put them in Q&A, because we're going to answer this last one. And if there's no more, we are going to let him have his Friday back. So this last question, Trevor, is if you're still getting negative responses after following the cycle and using positive connecting communication, is that just a clear indicator that it's time to leave?
No, just because I don't think you've exhausted all of your resources at that point. To say like, if you have a real deep challenge in your relationship that has persisted for some time and you're like, oh, cool, like this 1 hour chat with Trevor and then I have everything I need to go fix it. Like, that'd be awesome. And I would love to be that amazing as like some guru, just like granting you all your relationship wishes. But I'm definitely not that amazing in this, short of time. And these are principles that I think are nurtured over quite some time. What I would do as far as pointing you towards the right resources, if you like this idea of the negative cycle, if it resonates with you, this could be helpful. Therapists who are trained specifically in emotionally focused therapy are going to be good resources for you, because the negative cycle is drawn from emotionally focused therapy kind of concepts. I'm not here to pitch anything. I do also have kind of a more intensive type guided course that can help you through that as well. Send me a DM if you're interested in that. But those are some resources that you can draw on to expand on this, because I think it's like, it's not just a one and done thing. Utilizing therapy, utilizing other resources, books. There's a ton of resources that I think you would want to draw on before, you give this a try and then say you're done. But I also would say, I'm going to ask you a question. If there's a part of you that wants to be done, you're like, oh, great, I feel like I have the answer. And so if I apply the answer and it doesn't work, then I can rid myself of the guilt of leaving. And maybe that's not you or anybody who's listening, but that's also something to consider. It's like, why do you ask that question? What's important in that question? Do you want to fix it, or do you want relief from the guilt? And that might not even apply at all, but that's just something to think about.
So good and so powerful. You guys, thank you so much, Trevor, for coming here, sharing your knowledge. And if you guys want to dive deeper into this, Trevor has given us so much value today, and he has a connection course. If you want to give me that link, Trevor, I can send it in the VIP email, so that if you guys want to dive deeper in this, he's really an expert at this specific relationship stuff. So it looks like that's it for questions tonight. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for showing up on your Friday. And we're here Monday and Tuesday again with Sarah Dawn Moore about what women really want from men, and also Zach Watson with masturbation and porn and things like that. So it's going to be crazy, super informative. But thank you so much, Trevor, for being here, and I'll see you guys on Monday.
Thank you so